All right, guys, we're here on the campus of the University of Tennessee, where we're here with Jeff Hall, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about who he is and what he's done. But I know this is the University of Tennessee. We got some Hokie fans out there. We got some other folks who, personally, I like the Liberty Flames, but that's awesome, and we can have a little rivalry. There's no problem with that, and we're going to have fun with it today. But Jeff, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing with us today. I'm just gonna go down through here and read a couple of your accolades, a few of the things that you've done.
Okay.
And I don't want to miss anything, so I'm going to go ahead and read these off, and then we'll have some conversation.
You share what you feel comfortable sharing. I'm good. I'm happy to be here, so this will be fun.
Sounds good. Yeah. Thank you. All right, so Jeff was a kicker of the 1998 National Championship Tennessee Volunteers football team. Of course, there were many kicks that you made because you hold the current record for scoring for the University of Tennessee with 371 points. But there were two kicks that it seems like everybody remembers. There was the one at Syracuse in the season opener when you kicked the last-second field goal to win the game against a very good team with Donovan McNabb as their quarterback. And then there was the kick against Florida that you won the game with in overtime, right? That kept the Volunteers on track toward the national championship. You were voted captain of the team, which even Coach Philip Fulmer said that it was kind of rare that a kicker would be voted as a captain, but you were. You went on to help coach two Tennessee State Championship football teams in high school. I'm sure there were many other things that you did that we could share, but when you hear all of these things that you did, how does that make you feel?
Well, first of all, I think football has just been a big part of my life for a long, long time. And I'm just turned 48 years old, and so the large majority of my existence on earth, football has been a part of my life. And from a little kid, I remember watching football, and I remember wanting to play for the Vols. That was always a dream of mine. I never anticipated it would turn into the successful career that it was and the experiences that I had. But being engaged in sports, being engaged in playing, being engaged in coaching a little bit, it's just kind of part of my life, and now it's a part of our family's life with our 4 kids. And so football just happened to be a part of my world, and it was a big part of my world, and I'm thankful for that. I mean, God lined that up. He gave me that desire. He gave me the want to, and He just set some things in place that I could experience the way that I did, and it was awfully fun.
I can tell you had a lot of fun when you were doing it. So when you were younger, you mentioned that you kind of dreamed of playing for the Tennessee Volunteers, but did you ever dream that you would be part of a national championship team?
No, I didn't. And there's actually a drawing that I did when I was 9 years old, and it hung in my dad's office at work for 30 years, and it's in my house now in our game room, and it's a picture of me sleeping and dreaming about kicking for the University of Tennessee. And so cool. The assignment was to draw ourselves doing something, and I drew myself dreaming about kicking for UT. And my dad was a high school football official when I was real little, and so in this dreaming bubble up above my head there was the goalpost, and then there was a guy in a black and white striped shirt, and then there's a little bubble. He says, "Way to go, son," and then I'm kicking, and then there's the ball going through the middle of the uprights. And so I don't know why, but God gave me this vision, this dream at a very early age, and it's something that I just started working towards. And I'm not a great athlete, but God did make me stubborn, and it's just something that I just could never let go of.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I'm glad you didn't let go.
I'm glad too.
Turned out well for you.
Yes, it did. Yeah.
So, Jeff, what was it like being part of a winning team? What was that like?
You know, again, just growing up, just wanting to play for the Tennessee Volunteers, I never imagined it would turn into a national championship. You know, I don't know what the limit is today, but when I was in high school, you got 5 official visits. I was recruited pretty heavily all over the country. I took 1 visit, and that was because I had committed to Tennessee December of my junior year. And I thought, you know what, I know where I'm going. This is where I want to be. Yeah, I'm not going to waste anybody else's time. And then getting to that point where you sign, and then on signing day, we end up being the consensus #1 recruiting class in the country. Peyton Manning was a part of that class. And it's really started the success in that late 90s, early 2000s period, because Coach Fulmer, 1994, which was my true freshman year, that was his second full season as the head coach. And so a lot of that success came from him and his ability to recruit and his staff's ability to recruit. And any coach will tell you, how do you win? Well, you have great players. Well, we had great players. A lot of the accolades and successes and statistics that you shared earlier, a lot of that is because I played with some of the best football players to ever come through the University of Tennessee.
One of the things that I love being around successful people. People who have been successful by getting to the pinnacle of their sport or to the pinnacle of their field of work or the position that they're in. And I always ask the question, how did you become so successful? Like, what helped you to succeed at the heights that you succeeded in? Are there principles, anything like that you would say?
I think first of all is being able to look around and understanding that God has you in a certain place for a reason. And maybe that's not the place that you felt like you'd want to be or that you thought you would be, but just knowing that God has ordained all these things for His good purpose. And then from that standpoint, figuring out where you are and then just doing everything you can to be accountable to those people that you're responsible for. So one of the great things that I learned about being a collegiate athlete is that there is a very, very high level of accountability. And so if it's the one principle that I've learned as being an athlete for as long as I was, is there are other people that are counting on you. And that sense of accountability, if you embrace it, you accept it, will take you a long, long way. And then as you transition into the work world, whatever you do for a career, whatever we do, whether we're lawyers, teachers, doctors, we're in finance, we're in real estate, insurance, we're in ministry, whatever it is, our role is to help other people live more fruitful lives. And if you have that others mindset, I think that will allow you to persevere through a lot of difficult things. It will allow you to have the right perspective on what life's about. And so it's always about other people, whether you're playing sports or whether you get up every morning and go to work to support your family.
That's great. Thank you. So on the other side of that, we talked about success, but on the other side of that, I'm sure there were times where we didn't win the game or missed the field goal, as it might be. So how are you able to continue to persevere and overcome some of those times whenever you didn't win and you were trying to keep going?
From an athletic standpoint, there are a couple of periods that I remember in my career that were really, really difficult. I remember one, I missed a 22-yard field goal against Florida my redshirt freshman year. I felt like that took a lot of the momentum we had in that game, and we ended up losing that game down in the swamp. My sophomore year, I had a back injury, and I really struggled through just doing something I'd done since I was 9, but it was really, really hard. Didn't have a great year, plenty of misses that year, unfortunately. And then from an athletic standpoint, again, thinking about when I knew it was finally time to hang it up, and it was done. And the game says no to everybody. And sometimes it says no way down the road, and sometimes it says no way earlier than you want. That was my point where the game said no to me. And in each one of those instances, I think for me, it was just accepting what has happened and then just waking up the next morning and just keep doing the same thing over and over again. My son's a baseball player. How long he plays baseball is in the Lord's hands, but I've learned a lot about baseball over the years, and one of the things that I heard Adam Wainwright say, who pitched for the Cardinals, they did a video of him, and he always talked about process. Fall in love with the process. Every day, whatever that is, just fall in love with it, love it, own it, do it. And I think that in sports is the same as it is in life. There is a process that you just do it day in and day out, and as difficult as it may be, if you just keep doing it, eventually I think you'll accomplish a lot more in 5 years than you anticipated, but very likely you may not accomplish as much in 1 year as you thought. So there's this long-term thinking that if you just keep doing that over and over again, that you're going to see some fruits of your labor.
So if you were to coach someone who is struggling through this game of life that we find ourselves in, obviously it's not a game,
right,
but somebody who's struggling through life, what would you say to them?
Well, first of all, and I said this earlier, no one gets out of life unscathed. And there's not going to be many people that are going to empathize and understand what you're dealing with, because this is your life, and for some reason God has allowed this to happen. as great or as miserable or as challenging as it is. And, you know, to me, the one thing that I think we can rely on in this world is God's Word.
Right.
And I would say, read the Word, pray, get involved with the church, and just lean into that as much as you can, because the harder life is, the harder it is going to be to, you know, do those things, because you're trusting in something that's inanimate, and you're trusting in a book that unfortunately the culture and the world and all kinds of leaders in business and church and even in politics will tell you it's not true. But if you can find that true north and lean into that as much as possible, it may not be easy, but you at least have something to stand on when you wake up in the morning.
Absolutely. Well, Jeff, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for
pleasure.
sharing with us.
Thank you.
And encouraging our church as we desire to help people experience life with Jesus.
Well, this is a great blessing, so thank you. I really
We're so
appreciate
grateful
you
for
having
your
me.
time and for your story, and
Yes, sir.
keep up the good work.
That's
Thank
right.
you so much.
Go Vols.